the finance director to speak to that.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First of all, your protest for the qualifying fee, is that your protest because you're planning on running for re-election? Was this your announcement? Got a few things to update you on as far as occupation taxes, one of which is this rate schedule here. This is where I'm glad to have myself surrounded by good staff because, quite honestly, I didn't catch this. My staff did. I'm glad they did. DeKalb had updated their rates prior to 2013. I was going off some old data when we adopted the original schedule. Our staff caught it, brought it to my attention, then I communicated it to you as well. So the rates that you have before you are slightly less based on the equal or less principle that we're going off of. They're roughly 10% less than what DeKalb is currently charging. I did provide in your handout there a side-by-side comparison between what the DeKalb rates are and what the recommendation would be for our occupation tax rates. These tax rates apply to businesses that do not have alternative methods of computation, such as practitioners, insurance companies, etc. This is your regular type stores, your Walmarts, etc. So that's what these are aimed for. And so with that, I open up any questions you might have regarding this resolution.
So you're saying there's an additional fee schedule for the professionals, or is this the?
They have the option of utilizing that schedule, or the state does provide a cap of $400 per practitioner. So if you're operating a law firm and you have 3 lawyers on site, you could choose the method here in front of you, or you could choose to best pay $1,200, which is 400 times the 3 practitioners. And the state gives the practitioners that option. It's not something we stipulate.
And is that spelled out, or is there some reference on the information we provided?
Yes, sir.
There is? Okay. Because I wasn't aware of that. I mean, I'm a sole practitioner, so I didn't realize it was for each person in your.
Yeah, each licensed practitioner, yes. Now, related to that question specifically, there are some things within our existing ordinance that we carried over from DeKalb that does need to be cleaned up. I'm working with Susan to get you a draft of the occupation tax ordinance to clean up some of that verbiage to make it
More clear?
More constitutional. We have some court cases working with Laurel Henderson's firm. Kelly Hunley is one of the partners there. If you haven't met him, he's fantastic to work with. But he's worked with us, and we've actually won 2 cases at DeKalb Superior Court on the Dunwoody occupation tax ordinance as it relates to lawyers. So there's very specific language that applies in order to make it constitutional, because they're regulated by the Supreme Court and the Bar Association, not by local ordinances and laws. So we need to clean that up a little bit. So likely here in the month of February, I'll bring a first and second read back to you for that as well.
Thank you, Chris.
On the business license, I had a question today. Sole practitioner, he said he saw a difference between DeKalb and Brookhaven. He was asked for e-verification form. Is that something we've done, or is that state law?
Yeah, that's there's 2 pieces of anti-illegal immigration law that's been passed in the past 3-4 years. One relates to E-Verify, the other is what they call SAVE, systematic something or another. I don't know what
And that's for even a sole practitioner, one
Yes,
guy?
that is correct. And that is stipulated by state law, and it's something we have to do.
Chris, one thing that we had discussed before is an analysis of our competitiveness, not only against DeKalb County, but other surrounding areas, and working in cooperation with our economic development team to look at ways that we can attract businesses to our area. And I think that I remembered you saying we want to look at that in 6 months down the road, or is this something that we have on the radar to look at?
I thought it was 90 days.
Well, we've actually done an analysis of other cities within DeKalb County, but also outside of DeKalb County. We have that information on hand. A memo that I provided to you back in December included that, and we have even additional cities that's been done since then. I would state that this is such a very small fraction of cost of operating business. It's not a motivator or deterrent, occupation taxes that is. And a lot of times to get a big bang for your buck, you have like a development authority or something like that that can waive property taxes, which is a much larger impact, especially when you're talking about school and county tax rates. This is not one of those areas where you get a significant bang for your buck. It's bragging rights, but Best Buy is going to open up a Best Buy location because that's where the customers are, not because of what the occupation tax rate.
But you might get a situation where you got, 7 accountants in an accounting firm, something like that, and, $2,800 a year. I probably agree with you, but I still want to just look to make sure that's the case. That's what, the fees we adopted for building and whatnot, we're going to revisit those in 90 days. And I think we should always revisit our fees and make sure that we are being competitive and we are offering something that other places don't offer. So I'm fine with this now, but just be aware that we're probably going to want to revisit some of the, if council agrees that we want to do that.
Why don't we officially establish a 90-day review on this?
Well, I think that the best outreach that we can do as a council is to utilize our Chamber of Commerce. I think we've got, the Chamber of Commerce is there to give us that business feedback. I think they would be a great resource to present. And I know that 90 days is necessarily enough time.
My suggestion was in 90 days, look at what's going on around us competitively, so we always get an update. Because as an example, tonight, we're updating this because of a change in fee that was unbeknownst to you from DeKalb County.
Yeah.
Let's just stay abreast of what's going on around us. Every 90 days, get an update. But
If that's not overly burdensome for you.
No,
Okay.
no, there's a tight network of colleagues.
But your recommendation on utilizing the chamber, I think, is very, very good.
I think, my point is that I want us, one, to look at, from an economic development standpoint, what will be beneficial in attracting new businesses to Brookhaven, especially in our Class A office space and commercial
Need a
corridors.
package.
And then two, as Chris mentioned, I think this is sort of a minor issue. I don't know that every 90 days, I really agree with that, because these are annual fees that aren't going to change every 90 days. I think Chris has provided some competitive analysis of surrounding areas. But I think the bigger issue is just making sure that we're competitive from a market perspective and attracting new businesses here and keeping the ones that we do have.
I actually heard a story today. I was with Yvonne Williams with the PCID, and she said that Sandy Springs used to have among the highest occupation tax
And still do.
rate, and it was really deterring corporations from, not just a single box Best Buy or something, but a corporation from coming down here. Because I guess, as I understand these fees, they're based on receipts of the total business, wherever they're headquartered. Is that right? So it's a sizable amount at the end of the day.
I've had some conversations with Yvonne as well. They're obviously pushing. They've told Dunwoody the same thing, and Dunwoody's about a third of the price of Sandy Springs when it comes to occupation taxes. And clearly, that someone's not going to locate in Dunwoody just because it's a couple $1,000s cheaper than locating in Sandy Springs. I don't see that as anything more than a small little blip on a list of location type questions. And
Well, I had the impression it was more than a couple of $1,000s. That it was.
it depends on the organization. A corporate headquarters, something like a UPS, they're going to have a big chunk. It's going to be hundreds of thousands, not
Right, so that could be an influence.
Right.
Like if Crystal's looking for they were looking for corporate headquarters.
But we can say it's even proportional, even for a UPS, 400,000. When you're looking at how many billions are in their sales,
I know.
it's still not a motivating factor. Not that it's small change to any of us. It's just not something that they concentrate and really look at. They look at what's the education workforce, what's the location, where are their customers, the transportation infrastructure is key for some of these bigger companies. How close are they to the interstate and their major networks? How are they going to get their people to and from work? They look at those sort of things.
Yeah, I want to, I agree, I'm almost 100% there with you, but I just want to make it as part of like, basically saying, we need an economic development package where we know where the office space is, what are the benefits of living here. And if you can have that as one more thing, hey, our occupation tax, we're a mid-sized firm or something like that, if it saves them $10,000 a year, it might be just an extra thing for them to, so if it's cost-benefit analysis is important, of course, how much is it going to cost the city if we do A or B. But I just would like to be cognizant that we can use that as just another consideration. Not make an overriding irrational decision, but just include it among many
And
things.
if you're looking for timelines, one thing that I would suggest is annually, because this is a once-a-year tax,
Right.
but around the September-October timeframe, so that you can, if you choose to, you can adopt new rates before the new renewal season comes in.
Okay.
So if you'd like, we can do our due diligence and make sure we
Yeah.
bring back something to you.
Maybe August or something? Okay.
Well, in addition to that, I think that's a good recommendation. In addition to that, I'd say that at that time, or maybe a couple months before, it might be good to put on a schedule to appoint a task force to work with the Chamber of Commerce, really drawing that information out of those customers, what they're interested in, letting them drive, what's going to influence their decisions is probably a better direction for us to get that information than to try and create it.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, they might say, that's not a big deal to us, and a tax credit for each employee we hire would be
Right.
better or something.
And I think, to put that out a couple months before September on our agenda would be a really good thing to do.
Mayor, Council, can I just make one quick update on as far as your discussion?
Yes.
I've reached out to Art Freeman, who's, I think he's back here somewhere. He's still here. We reached out to meet with him on Thursday to start discussions about having an open house, town hall style format, so we can get some Q&A and feedback specifically from the business community. So we'll be integrating the Chamber of Commerce into those discussions.
Right.
So that's in progress.
Thank you.
Can I, Mr. Mayor, just not to
Yeah.
prolong the conversation, but with what you all have been describing, and first looking at business occupation tax and engaging, the chamber, those are definitely good tools. But I would also suggest to you, that you're going to be getting ready to appoint a development authority.
Right.
And I think what you've been talking about is how do you incentivize
Right.
a major corporation or development coming into the city. On the scheme of things, Chris is right. That becomes very minuscule to the overall package. But what becomes important is the policy that you all establish and using your development authority to help you with that. And there could be thresholds. If a development that comes in that has 300 employees, what are you going to look at? There are ways to incentivize it by reducing the building permit fees, reducing land disturbance permit fees, in addition to, visiting the idea of a business occupation tax, because that is a cost of them doing business. If they can eliminate or severely reduce a permit fee, that becomes very important. If, with the development authority, they could do a bond inducement to help underwrite the cost of the loan. So I think what you're talking about is developing a package and definitely engaging the chamber, but your lead on this could be your development authority, and that could be
Right.
their very first task of,
Right.
okay, let's develop this, because that will be a major component that goes into your comprehensive plan as you describe your vision for your future city and the objectives to get there. And one objective would be to create an incentive program, and then who leads that? Your development authority. And what is that? It's, different tiers.
Could you draft an email one day this
Yes.
week with maybe some criteria for what you want to see and what we would want to see, just a suggestion for the
Yes.
development authority, and then sort of a deadline so we can get some names from council and
Right.
from me.
Right, I've gotten some names from.
development
some-
authority?
For
Okay.
development authority,
Okay.
yes, and so we just need to hear from.
Is that on
them.
that same timeline as the planning and the zoning, or is it a different one?
Well, the planning and zoning and ZBA is just critical because
Right.
we have cases that are coming in, but right behind that, especially since you're wanting to engage the chamber, if they're gonna be out trying to sell the city for you, they need to know what's the package
Sure.
that they can offer. And then also, what can you afford? Because once we start talking about the framework of this package, we need to be talking to the finance managers because, budgets are
Don't wanna give
predicated
away
on
too much.
revenues. So how much can we afford to give away? And it's not giving away, it's how much can you afford to invest?
Right.
Because you're looking at a return of investment. If you can bring in a 500 employee corporation that has staying power, that means a lot because of the ripple effect that that brings to the community.
Right.
You know, employees are going to buy a loaf of bread on their way home. They're going to stop at the dry cleaners that's right there next to where they work. So all of those things become important. So I think you're talking about what is your incentive program, what's your economic development package, and what are all those components in there. So I would certainly recommend that would be the first task of your development authority. And I would hope that maybe by the end of February, the middle of February, you will be considering all the nominations and presenting those to your council for ratification,
Okay.
so we can get them up and going.
Okay, great. All right, well,
Mr.
we,
Mayor, one more thing I'd like to mention before you call for a vote on this is there are other fees, pouring permits, alcohol fees, special event permits, et cetera, where we still need to adopt the rate schedules for it. So again, probably as early as the next meeting,
Right.
we'll bring those. I'm trying to get a complete inventory so that we're not coming to you every month. Here's a new one we found. But hopefully by our next meeting, I'll have a list that includes all of those, not just the occupation tax.
okay, thank you, Bruce.
This quick follow-up question to that. Joe, you mentioned there, so alcohol permit fees, we don't have a fee schedule for this?
Currently, we haven't had any applications yet, so we're okay there. But as it stands now, we have not adopted the rates. We approved the ordinance, which calls for the establishment of the rates. But no one actually followed through to see that there was the rates in place. So we're putting that inventory of items together and we'll proceed. We're checking what the cap rates are and what the others in the area are doing, et cetera, to make sure we come back.
I can tell you right now, we do have an alcoholic beverage, two of them in particular, that are coming very, very soon. Could be as early as tomorrow. And also special permit use, so I'm really going to encourage no later than the next council meeting, we have that.
And we are working towards that. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So if those applications came in tomorrow, what typically is the turnaround time on those applications?
A lot goes into that. Is it a new building or is it an existing building? It goes to community development. It doesn't take long. Sometimes it can take just a couple of days. Sometimes it can take longer, especially if you have site reviews, food inspection, fire marshals, et cetera. So there's no golden answer other than from a couple of days to, I wouldn't expect 1 to 2 weeks.
Is there a special call meeting in the offing? I mean, because if somebody comes tomorrow and wants to get a permit, I mean, and we've got to wait 2 weeks, where I heard, but we're never
Mr.
going
Mayor, could you and the council consider adopting the rate schedule of the county?
tonight, because it's on the,
What
yeah.
I would suggest to you, if it's your desire, is that as part of this particular piece of business that's in here now, that you would add, that you would, as part of the resolution, that you would adopt the existing fee schedule for alcohol, the alcohol fee schedule for alcohol rates for DeKalb County. And is there another thing that you think is kind of?
Well, we call it a special permit, but DeKalb County calls it a parade permit.
Well, we have special,
Would it create a conflict if we just said we're adopting DeKalb County fee schedule for anything that we haven't specifically adopted for the city of Brookhaven?
Let's do it one at a time.
Well, how many fee schedules are we talking about, I think, Chris?
Well, if you wanted to do that tonight,
Yeah.
then we can bring forward another resolution, even if it's the same rate, we can bring another resolution at the next meeting and make sure it's all clean. If you want to do that.
I think from a business perspective, it certainly, I would rather not slow down business. If we don't have an existing fee schedule, DeKalb counties, if that doesn't create a conflict, I'd
always
rather
address
have
this
something
too.
in place.
If we need to change it in the next couple of weeks, but I just want to have something in place when maybe it doesn't happen, but if somebody comes tomorrow, I don't want to say have it at the window, we don't have a rate yet for it.
My only question would be for council, can we adopt that without being on the agenda?
Well, it's on the agenda for fees and taxes and licensing.
They can amend your resolution to add those other things
Okay.
onto it.
All right. So I'll need some verbiage from council on that motion.
You want to go on Councilman Madison's verbiage?
No.
If you'll give me a script.
Yeah, give me-
Based on what.
I just want to be, is that the policy you want to set, or do you want to go one by one?
I'd prefer to go, I can see passing alcohol, but I'd like to save the others for future consideration unless somebody's aware of
Which
Oh,
other?
absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I definitely want our city finance department to present a resolution for all of these fee schedules. I simply would like us to adopt an interim until he has a chance to bring those to council as keeping the status quo with DeKalb County. That way, we're not holding up businesses.
Right.
And we're still going to do all of the due diligence when we adopt them, when they're brought forward to council. Does that work?
Does that work for you, Joe?
Yes, it does.
Jim?
Yeah,
Sure.
well, I have an inherent problem of adopting fees that I don't see, and I understand the need to it, so.
But we're not locked in, that's the
Yeah,
beauty of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the cab fees, so the existing fees for the
Yeah,
cab
plus
guys.
they're not different than what people are used to paying.
And even if an individual situation should arise, we could address it individually.
Right,
Because there are some public events we may not want to charge a fee at all,
right.
if it's a charity or something of that nature.
Your birthday. Okay.
It's coming up.
All right, so,
Can you recommend it?
I'm working on it, Councilman.
Thanks, Chris.
We need to make sure we adopt the occupational fee schedule separately,
Right.
because that's a lesser amount and adopt the
Right,
others.
right.
Yeah, okay.
While he's writing, I'll just mention last week, while we were rushing towards the Friday deadline, we were able to talk with Dunwoody to do the background checks for the pouring permits and the fingerprinting, et cetera, and they're going to work with us to issue those until we have our own police department up and running to be able to
Okay.
do that. They do Tuesday and Thursdays, morning and afternoon, 9 to 11 and 1 to 3.
so we can send people up there to,
They go there.
All right.
In fact, it'll be a one-stop. They can go there, and they'll be able to get everything and then go straight back to work. They won't have to go back and forth to our city hall.
okay. What about fingerprinting? Does Dunwoody Police Department do fingerprinting for carry permits, things like that?
They do fingerprinting for anybody. You can go in, pay a fee. I think it's $15.
Right.
And they just give you the fingerprint card when you're done.
Okay.
So,
Before we go forward, we'll make sure,
First one.
right, we can do the first one and then amend, what,
So you can make a motion to adopt with the further amendment if he desires to do so.
so adopt the resolution as stated with a further amendment altogether.
If the Councilmember Madison makes the motion to adopt the present resolution with the further amendment, read into the record what the further amendment would be. If there was a second, then you could vote it all in at one time and you wouldn't have to amend.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, the motion to amend,
Motion to adopt.
sorry, all right, first I'll start with the motion to adopt Resolution 2013-01-08, consideration and approval for a resolution to update the fees, scheduled fees for business occupation taxes and licensing, and
And to further amend it by.
to further amend it by an adoption of all existing cab fee schedules not presently adopted by the city of Brookhaven.
Sounds simple to me. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the resolution and as amended by Councilmember Bates, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the minutes that this resolution with the amendments passed. Actually, appointment of interim city solicitor. City solicitor. You're welcome. City solicitor. Oh, thank you. Okay. As you know, Mr. Riley's been our interim city attorney for the past few months and is doing a good job, and we appreciate all the work that he's doing. We're appointing him, I'm going to submit as an appointment for interim city solicitor. We are going to be taking bids on the city solicitor job, just because we have, I think that's due diligence is necessary, but we will be beginning operations, I believe, in a couple of weeks, and Mr. Riley is the best suited right now, I think, to make sure that we're have all our I's dotted and T's crossed when we open our court in a couple of weeks. So I submit William Riley as an appointment for interim city solicitor.
Second.
Any discussion?
It'd really be a motion to ratify in a second.
So a motion to ratify my appointment of William Riley as interim city solicitor.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
I'm just thrilled that you've got a candidate like Bill Riley who's particularly well suited for this job. Nobody knows municipal court like Bill Riley, having been both a judge and set up several municipal courts, and has been instrumental in helping us design and get our court set up from the beginning. So I think we're certainly blessed and lucky to have Mr. Riley available to us to do this.
Question on the courts, have they received the permit and are they under construction, or what is the status of opening day for the courts?
I have to defer to our deputy city manager.
So can I amend the mayor's comments about 2 weeks? No, we have engaged an architect who was referred by the community development department to ensure that we play by the same rules as the citizens of Brookhaven. So we go through the permitting process, and we also have to have that architectural drawing to ensure that we actually get approval by the fire marshal. So we will have to go through the same process. The architect visited today, and we will determine how long it will take to do build out. We are in the process of doing the vetting, or Jacobs is doing the vetting for the city, the municipal court clerk. Now that the solicitor has been appointed, I'm sure things will move faster. So we're working on the process and procedures that will go into making the court get up and running as quickly as possible, as well as coming up with a determination of when we will officially be taking citations from DeKalb County.
I thought that they were just going to dump it on us automatically.
Currently, DeKalb County is writing and forwarding all tickets to state court, and they're not sending them anywhere. I've been talked to somebody who provides, I think, almost all of the actual paper citations for the entire state of Georgia. They've sent me a quote later this afternoon, so we will have to have tickets that say City of Brookhaven. We'll have to direct them to the right location, and we'll have to process the tickets. The other piece of municipal court is also code enforcement. So we cannot start writing code citations until we have.
What's the time frame on that?
I will have that answer for you later in the week.
Okay.
Just please give the architect some very, very specific deadlines.
We have, and we are on top of that. We've already given them a very defined scope of work in terms of verbiage that are bullet points, as well as a preliminary drawing for them to base that off of, and to ensure that we've done our due diligence. I've had other people review the quote and the scope of work to ensure that we're in line in terms of the fees are. And obviously, to expedite the process, we've gone through someone who's done business with the community development department before. But there is a large sense of urgency, and there are two separate people calling the architect on a daily basis.
I thought we
Hold
previously.
on one second. Let's get this back to this appointment real quick. Marie, I just want to make sure where the bid process is, and that Bill will be submitting a bid as well. So brief me on that later this week, I guess.
Right, I will.
And council. But so we have a second. Is there any more discussion on the appointment of Bill Riley as city solicitor?
One quick question on discussion. Just wanted to know, Bill, I appreciate everything you've done. I just would like to know if there is a schedule of fees for the interim time. I know that you've done a lot of pro bono work. I don't want you to go broke doing pro bono work, so I just wanted to be upfront to know if there is a schedule of fees. And if
Sure,
not,
I proposed that when I set my proposal in the first time on the city attorney work. So it's the same thing that we do in all the other cities, and it's $100 an hour for court time. That's what we run.
But we do need a separate bid for this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But if ever y'all want to propose, I'm hopeful I can answer and satisfy your needs and desires for the prosecutor.
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Any more discussion or questions? Okay. All in favor of ratifying the appointment of William Riley as interim city solicitor, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter into the record that the William Riley has been appointed interim city solicitor. And I don't need to do an oath right now? Yes, okay. Please raise your right hand. Now I'm gonna expect you to be able to, I'm gonna do 2 sentences at a time. You gotta remember this. You got the.
I have a copy.
Oh, always prepared. Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the interim city chief solicitor of the municipal court of the city of Brookhaven,
I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the interim chief solicitor for the municipal court of the city of Brookhaven,
and will to the best of my ability support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
and will to the best of my ability support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of Georgia, and the charter, ordinances, and regulations of the city of Brookhaven.
the Constitution of Georgia, and the charter, ordinances, and regulations of the city of Brookhaven.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States, any other state, or any foreign state, which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia, are prohibited from holding.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States, any other state, or any foreign state, which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia, am prohibited from holding.
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia.
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia.
I will truly, honestly, and faithfully discharge the duties of my office.
I will truly, honestly, and faithfully discharge the duties of my office.
Furthermore, I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the city of Brookhaven to the best of my ability, without fear, favor, affection, reward, or expectation thereof, so help me God.
Further, I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the city of Brookhaven to the best of my ability, without fear, favor, affection, reward, or expectation thereof, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Now, please note on the record that for future oaths of office, that everybody gets a copy of the oath. That's a good idea.
I wasn't reading from it, man.
You've been sworn in so many times, huh? All right. Okay. Action item number 4, Marie.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a consideration for approval of the CBON contract. I would ask if you could table this, consider tabling it until your next meeting, so staff will have more time just to get a few more quotes.
Okay. We need to officially table it, or we can just,
Motion to table to the next meeting, or
is there a motion to table?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor of tabling action item number 4, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the record that action item 4 has been tabled. Action item 5. Appointment of committee for the purpose. So this is the official, okay, I'm going to appoint, if y'all, with your approval, I'm going to appoint council members Williams and Iyer to the sign committee that we discussed at our last meeting. I'd ask that you ratify their appointment as co-chairmen of the sign committee.
Second? Is it? Need a second?
Yeah, isn't there?
you can, well, I believe the mayor can appoint to a committee without the need of ratification from the council, but if you wish to do so, it's probably not a bad idea anyway.
I wish to do so.
So do a motion to ratify the mayor's appointment, then ask for a second, no vote.
All right. Is there a motion?
I move that we ratify the mayor's appointment for sign
I second.
ordinances.
Question. Can we, Rebecca and I, add members without formal approval?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Is that okay?
Or do we have to come back to another?
Well, it's the mayor's power to make appointments to committees.
Right.
It really is the mayor's power. Because there is no authority in the committee to act, it's probably not, it's not, you can do that. Because only the things that you have a power that can act is the things that you get in trouble for illegally delegating powers.
Right.
And since this is just an advisory committee, if you want your committee co-chairs to put people on that committee, then there's nothing that would, I don't think, that would prohibit it, except your failure to concur.
And also the intent is to rework the ordinance and bring it back to
Right.
council for review and approval at some later date. But I just wanted to be clear that we weren't overstepping our bounds without appropriate.
Just don't appoint a bunch of sign haters.
Trust me.
It really
Marie?
is, it's the mayor's appointment, but if he wants to delegate it, there's no issue.
Marie?
Just a point of clarification, and really from my understanding from the first discussion a couple of weeks ago, my understanding is that the council members that you have appointed will work together to review the current sign regulations
Correct.
and look at areas of major concern that deserve further consideration and even perhaps amendment. I don't know if in the scheme of the work, if you're looking for them to identify those areas, to report back to you, and then to let them move forward to, bring in people from the industry
Right.
where they could get some more information, because at some point, we'll need to bring the planning department in so that we can capture a lot of this information
Right.
and then report back to ready it for recodification of the sign regulations. And we want to be sure that we don't breach any of the constitutional review that has already been made to your sign regulations, but to keep the process moving so that, the two council members can take a look at the major points that they want to have in-depth review, bring in people from the community that
Yeah,
could
industry
assist
people
them.
and neighborhood people and.
Right, and then, so that we don't forget our planning department that can
Right.
capture these items. And so we're all working towards a recodification. And I know that council is anxious to move on this and to develop with more specificity as to what the city is looking for. And I would hate for you all to lose the momentum and that it stretch out beyond what.
So you're
I
saying
think
we
might
don't,
be
there's no need to
necessary.
come back and for me to appoint the people they want to put on?
Right, I think so, but I would just like for them to have the staff support. I want to make sure you all have
Okay.
that to move along and identify those areas and so that we can work towards bringing it back for full consideration and ultimately adoption for a revised sign regulations ordinance.
We'll make sure the sandwich board people are okay. We'll be finding them out of existence, the
Yeah.
sandwich boards outside the delis and whatnot. Okay, so that's been, we have voted yet? We've voted? Okay, is there all in favor of approving the motion made by, was it you? Yes. By Councilman Madison to ratify the appointments of council members Williams and Iyer to the sign committee? Please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter into the minutes of the action number 5, appointing council members Williams and Iyer to the sign committee. It's been approved. Other business? Okay, and this is the next public comment section. Anybody have any public comments? Mr. Freeman, you want to talk about, that would be a good time to mention what you heard earlier about what we're talking about for an economic development package and those items. If you want 3 minutes for that, I think it'd be a good time to, or not.
Can't quite hear you all the way back here.
Right now would be a good time if you want to make a public comment. I'm not trying to solicit comments, but about what we spoke about earlier with the chamber, working with the city to get an economic development package and research some of the things when it comes to occupation taxes and whatnot.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that, thank you. Every chamber of commerce, commonly in the United States, certainly the one that's here in Brookhaven, has a plank in their strategic planning that deals with economic development. The economic development is a very integral part of the chamber because it is the entity which is most qualified to go out and seek businesses outside of the immediate community and entice them or encourage them to come into our community. And that's a benefit to the city, that's a benefit to the Chamber of Commerce, and it's a benefit to the company that's coming into that environment. We have found that livability is a very high priority for many companies that are involved in a relocation type of scenario. I believe that we are more uniquely qualified than our sister cities, Dunwoody and Sandy Springs, in that we offer a much greener environment, a more sustainable living environment, and a generally better class, if you will, of homes and neighborhoods than Sandy Springs, for example. We know that there's a number of businesses moving into the Dunwoody and Sandy Springs area, and we would like the opportunity to encourage them to look favorably on the city of Brookhaven for the residents. For the business itself, or businesses itself, we have a bit of a problem because we're somewhat landlocked in terms of having large corporate offices be able to come into our environment. As a result of that, we're probably going to see more small business or medium-sized businesses coming into the city of Brookhaven. And we've got a couple of corridors, the Buford Highway corridor, the corridor that is currently Peachtree Boulevard, and a little bit up in the Johnson's Ferry area, and then a little bit up on the 285 Lake Hearn area. We believe as a chamber right now that our greatest potential for increased development in business is going to be the Buford Highway corridor. There's some very prime real estate in that particular part of the city, and it can, because of some of the industrial zone that we have there, as well as the C1, C2, is the most likely candidate for bringing entities into the city. The Peachtree Boulevard, we would like to see developed perhaps at some future date as a city center where we have commerce and 8-story, 4-story, 6-story buildings that go up and down that particular area. And that allows us to bring in a lot of smaller type of corporate offices and financial services because, again, the surrounding areas don't offer the combination of the livability and the opportunity for business. So we are looking forward to working very closely with the council in developing a very sustainable model for why companies should come into our city and why it's very livable for their employees to be in the city. And then we have the transportation, the schools, and the area that entices them.
Thank you, Art. That's great. We want to work closely with the chamber, and as y'all keep developing that organization, we want to work hand in hand to try to make sure that the businesses know about Brookhaven. I mean, you mentioned the perimeter summit area. I don't know if you realize, I think it's 85 acres up there.
Yeah, there's,
They
it's
have-
zoned for 4 more high-rises.
And they have
up there.
capacity for, I think, 5 more office buildings up there. So it's an area that people don't realize. You mentioned it's a small area. It's actually a quite large area.
2 million plus, 3 million plus square feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 million.
The issue with the Peachtree Summit right now is because,
Perimeter Summit.
I'm sorry,
Perimeter
I'm
Summit.
sorry, Perimeter Summit, is that they are members right now of the Sandy Springs Chamber of Commerce. And that particular area has been their farm, if you will. We've had a meeting already with the Sandy Springs Chamber of Commerce on this very issue. We want to be careful that we're not poaching on each other's territory, but that we work in some type of coalition or synergy.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but the CID, I think, is what we need to meet with the CID, because it's based right there at Perimeter Summit, and they need to be a member of the Brookhaven Chamber of Commerce as well, the folks that are in the brownies of Brookhaven. So, I don't know, I'm not dictating who your members need to be, but I'm just saying, I think that's a good idea.
Talk to our friends up there.
We'll talk, yeah,
We could be members of both.
yes. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question about that, but ultimately, excuse me, we want to concentrate in those areas where we're not bumping up against our neighbors, but where we are expanding and allowing new opportunities to come into the city. And again, we have very restricted areas within the city where we can do that. because we're primarily a residential city.
Right.
Just to follow up on that, all right, I think that we've got some tremendous resources with the city administration in our economic and community development team that I've talked with Kevin McCumber, and I know that he has other resources within his team to really help benefit in those efforts to stimulate economic development in the city of Brookhaven. So please feel free to work directly with that planning department. Hopefully they'll be open to get a good team.
We're currently engaged with a number of, with a number of outside agencies around. There's also the CID, that is the college triangle that is going on the south part of town. We've reached out to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce because we have, I found out today, the fourth largest Hispanic population in the United States in that corridor that is roughly from North Druid Hills over to Claremont Road. And that's virgin territory as far as for the city, because that has been pretty much neglected in terms of participation. There's a event coming up in April, which is a 5K run that will be down on the Buford Highway, that will help focus the city in what's going on over in the Hispanic community.
But yeah,
We also,
Councilmember Gebbia had mentioned that,
right,
and that's something I think we want to highlight as well.
we have lots of potential. I
do,
don't want
yeah.
to make it sound like we didn't have lots of potential.
Right.
We do, but we also have to homogenize, if you will, our city so that we have a common purpose.
Sure.
We will also help in keeping demographic information and keeping track of the businesses, which we talked about, being their voice, if you will, collective voice to the council, so you can get feedback from the business community and how they're reacting to some of the things that we're doing as
Sure.
a governmental unit. So there's a lot of ways in which we can jointly participate.
Thank
And
you.
I'm looking forward to being a partner with the city.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Yes.
I just wanted to share some, while we're talking about economic development, I was, of course, we had such a successful open house for our community development department last week and had some 125 builders, developers who came to learn more about how we're open for business. And among them were several groups of developers with big projects coming out of the ground immediately in Brookhaven, including, there's a new Hyatt hotel at Villa Cristina, where the foundation is really going in today. The cranes are in place, and that's going to be coming in on our watch. It's a very exciting project with 173 rooms. A top-of-the-line Hyatt. It's the first full-service hotel being built in the perimeter area in 25 years, and it's in Brookhaven. So that's pretty exciting. Villa Cristina has a very robust wedding business and event business, and it's just going to be a perfect complement to an amenity up there. And then the other group of developers that came in were from Ashton Woods Home Builders, a very fine home building group that is bringing in about 150 housing units in Brookhaven.
Single family.
Single family this year. Now that's divided between townhouses and single family homes in what is now called Brookley. Some of us remember it as Johnson Ferry East, but it's that mixed-use development that's right across from the Publix on Johnson Ferry. And they've got some beautiful plans for townhomes and single family homes. And then they have taken over a project that went into foreclosure right behind Costco on Hermance. It's going to be another beautiful townhome project with, I think, 65 townhomes called Savoy. And they all of these are in the $300,000 to $450,000 price range. So it's, to me, it's unbelievable that we're really still in this recession and we're having this tremendous growth in new housing units. I mean, any city would be envious
And
of
didn't
us.
and that's of course at the Perimeter Summit. Wasn't there a story today about the CID in the Lake Kern area where they just got a $5 million grant
From
to
ARC.
ARC to make that whole area more walkable?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about, they have there, it's plenty of, that development up there is buffered by a pretty substantial forest between the neighborhoods where Rebecca lives and
I back up to it, so I'm very familiar with it.
and they, like Jim had said, there's 2 to 3 million more square feet of office space that they have the capacity for on the board. So they're designing it where people can get out of their cars and walk around and get to places and get from A to B. Now that flyover bridge is there, people can do lots of things that you weren't able to do before. So I've been harping on Beaufort Highway for a long time, and I'm just starting to realize also that Perimeter Summit has some potential as well. So we need to make sure we do, double barrel this.
Yeah. But Art, you make a great point that what I've been hearing repeatedly is that our strong residential is extremely attractive and vital for attracting businesses. We need to work on our schools a little bit, but the fact that we have fantastic, high quality of life residential areas is a tremendous draw, and it's so strategically located is fantastic.
All right. So any more public comments? Yes, Jeff Keller.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor. In this regard, when economies start to expand, it's small business that is the generator of the expansion. And something that's very small that I discussed with the county CEO candidate is for new businesses that they open or come to Brookhaven to waive their first year occupation fees and their first year property taxes. It's money that we already don't have, but it will create a future annuity. And any small businesses that are out there, say somebody lives in Sandy Springs, Buckhead, wherever nearby, we want them to start their new businesses here. And if somebody's been operating out of their home and they're looking to maybe go into a retail storefront or office space, we want them to come here. It's something that's very small. The revenue impact won't be significant, but from a public relations standpoint, it's something that you consider.
Thank you.
The thing is, people are doing these expansions and making these moves right now, being the beginning of the year in the spring.
Right.
So I would urge the economic development folks to move soon as well.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Yes. All right, any more public comments? Dale?
Yes, go to my neighborhood. The main problem we have in this area is these 24-hour nightclubs on Beaufort Highway. These clubs that are active on the weekend that are causing noise in this neighborhood. If you've ever been to Northeast Plaza, which has now changed its name, you will notice this. The wildness, the drunkenness that is out there in these 3 major clubs, which is the Green, you have one that's in the back part of Northeast Plaza, just complete chaos over there. So I'm listening to the Chamber of Commerce about bringing the businesses, but what we're seeing is we're going to need some policing
Right.
for Northeast Plaza and for Beaufort Highway. We're talking to all the business owners, the prostitution, the drugs that are going on wildly on Beaufort Highway. What we need to do is bring Beaufort Highway under control. And then what we need to do is bring businesses in there that are family-oriented for all of Brookhaven. Because the thing that we all hate in this area to drive is Gwinnett County and Cobb County to eat at a steakhouse, to eat at a barbecue, anything like that. So what we need to do is really focus on straightening up Beaufort Highway once and for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I would say that is a priority, obviously. Any more public comments? All right, public comment section is closed. Mayor's comments. Appreciate everybody's input, and thank you again to the synagogue for hosting us. But the comments we just heard from Art, from Jeff, and from Dale, obviously those are things that we're looking at. We've been talking about them pretty regularly, and they'll all be addressed. There's no executive session needed. Is there a motion for adjournment? Do you want me to see some of my mayor comments, Tom?
No, you might want to remind our next two.
Next 2 meetings, Marie? 4 meetings?
Is February the 12th and February the 26th. Of course, you have your town hall meeting this Thursday,
Right.
starting at 7:30.
Where are the
Both-
what are the locations for the 12th and the 22nd?
The next 4 council meetings are at Upton Hall at Oglethorpe University,
Okay.
and the town hall, as we said earlier, is the mayor's auditorium,
All
mayor's
Thursday.
board.
All right?
So
We
the
have
one-
some
so the-
semi-permanent.
Yeah, the wandering tribe of
I'd like to
city
say that
council people
Lupton
has caused us
is
a
free of
little-
charge to the city.
All right, all right.
Excellent.
And Mr. Mayor, those next 2 meetings on the 12th and 26th are dual meetings, ZBA and then city council meeting.
Okay, all right. Okay. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?